Hi Trader, Tina here once again from ShortMeTina.com with my daily recap. Today is Friday, so TGIF. I'm gonna make this really quickly because I know it's Friday, folks. Outside of myself, have tons of things to do. I think I'm just gonna stay in and probably watch some television. Anyway, daily chart dating back to February of 2018. I did a video on Snapchat yesterday where I said, well, I love the stock and there was actually a bullish cup and handle setup in the making. I was anticipating a breakout and look what happened today. I believe the stock may have been upgraded. I think that's why we had this upshoot. I'm not sure, but for me, we had this upshoot because of this bullish cup and handle pattern. Anyway, we broke through that $18.15 resistant area, popped up today on decent volume, going as high as 19.29, and we closed in 19.11. So we didn't close too far from today's high. And for me, yes, we broke through resistance, and I said very little overhead, repeating what I said yesterday, very little overhead. Next stop, in my opinion, is around that 2021 area. I'll start to lighten up because at that point, I would have doubled my investment. But even so, remember, intermediate term, I see more things happening for Snap. I actually see it retesting all-time highs of around $29. And from at that point, it'll probably base a little bit, and it's going to be on its way to the 30s and possibly 40s. Keep your eye on Snap. What else? All right. The SPY, really quick update. I haven't done a recap on the SPY in a while, and considering the markets are closed on Monday, let me just do a really quick recap. So now you can anyone who's new here can definitely go back and listen to any video I've done on the SPY and the IWM. I want to say from October-ish up until like late December, where I stopped, right? And what I said is that I see, based on price action, mind you, I was kind of saying this around this time, right? I said based on price action, I see the SPY getting from around 328 to around 330, right? And that was my price trajectory for the ending of 2019. So around December 31st, I said, you know what? The SPY can get to 330, 328, 330. I was a bit too early in that projection, right? Because it took us up until like mid-January to get there. So I was about 2 weeks too early in my projection. That's fine. It's there. So someone asks, well, what happens next? So for me, heading into next week, I can see the market kind of grinding a little bit higher, right? I can see it getting to around 333 to around 335 before we kind of start to get a little bit of, a little toppy, in my opinion. Then I'm gonna expect a pullback. Now, is this gonna be the mother of all pullbacks where like we throw ourselves into a complete bear market? Absolutely not. I think that pullback will be a great buying opportunity for most. Because at that point, I can see the market really taking off and lifting off for majority of 2020. Like I said, I can definitely see 400 in the SPY by 2020, but we definitely need a pullback soon, in my opinion, because we've gone up quite some time. Anyway, so again, if you don't believe me, just listen to any videos that I did, and we're doing them essentially daily. Any video that I did dating back to, I want to say, October, November. So that's my take on the SPY. I think it's getting a little toppy. I can see it getting to around the 335 area before a pullback, and we kind of need that pullback so we can get the next leg up. All right, what else? All right, really quickly on DARE. This is an hourly chart, right? So it's basically an hourly chart. Let's pay attention to when the stock gapped up. It's up about 2% on the day. You can see volume has completely gone away relative to around January 10th when we had that pop. I see we closed at around 166. We might be down a little bit in after hours. Anyway, if you're long and I am not, this is what you should be paying attention to, because the stock, for the most part, you can see it right here, has been trading sideways for the last 2 or 3 days, trading sideways. So you want to know whether or not this is a stock that you should jump into. In my opinion, you want to pay to shorter term support that clocks in at around, let's say, 160 to 165. If we cannot hold there, then I think that the story might be over for ticker DARE. What else? All right, and then we have ticker NAKD daily chart. I believe it's up about 1.67% on the day, closed at 122, up slightly in after hours. I see a quote of 124. So heading into next week, and this stock, it's been in a decline for like forever, right? So these are not the type of stocks I like to get into, although I should make note you can 100% successfully trade counter trend, but if you're starting out, I think it's a lot easier to sort of just go with the trend, and in this situation you wouldn't be going long anyway. You can see here the stock has been sort of basing for the last 3 or 4 hours. So essentially today the selling stopped and now we're going sideways. To see whether or not the stock is going to get a bounce, in my opinion, it really needs to hold, right? It really needs to hold support of around 120 to 124. Let's give it a range, right? So that's support. We're sitting at 122, so we're sitting exactly on support. So if you're long, the last thing you want it to do is to actually break those levels. If it breaks that level, chances are you can see selling accelerate a little bit. Conversely, interestingly enough, that might actually be the time to catch that dead cat bounce, because, and this is how you would trade counter trend, because the stock has been in a decline for so long. What else? All right, and let's cap it with ticker IMBI. I'm going to switch to the hourly to see if I see anything. Anyway, stock is up about 42% on the day. I guess we can call it the shack effect. You can see here virtually no volume. Going back as far as July of 2019, you see that? Very sketchy. And then all of a sudden you had volume pour in today. Stock gapped up, went as high as $5.43, eventually closed at $4.48. We're down slightly in after hours, down to around $4.34. So we're kind of relatively close to today's low, in my opinion, in after hours. Not quite close, but relatively close. So what I'd be paying attention to heading into trading next week essentially is the low. If we break that, and the low of today clocked in at around $4.05. So let's call the low around $4.10, right? So if we break that area and we can't sustain, obviously I'd be paying attention to this gap here for a possible fill. But even with that, let's look at the longer term trend on this chart. Let's switch back to the daily. You can see that the stock, since peaking back in November of 2019 at $7.20, you can see it's essentially been in a state of decline, and then it kind of like popped up today, essentially breaking that downtrend. So I'm not saying that this is not a stock that can perform well in the future. I'm just saying at this point, I would just kind of like wait until the dust settles more or less to see what unfolds, right? So you can potentially play it shorter term if it can hold this like 410 low, right? We can call that 410. It's an estimate. The exact low is like 405, but let's just give it 410. So if it can hold that 410 low, I think things will be okay for a short-term play. But for me personally, the type of trader I am, I'd probably wait a couple of weeks, if not a few months, to let things stabilize to see what would be an exactly decent point to get in at. And that's sort of my take, and we're going to cap it there. And so like I said, we're going to cap it there. Tina here once again from ShortMeTina.com. If you enjoyed that video, do 3 things for me. 1, like this video, comment in the comment section. It helps to push it to other traders too. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you head on over to our YouTube channel at ShortMeTina and hit that subscribe button. Again, it helps to get this video out to other traders just like yourself. And the third thing I'm going to ask you to do, it's also going to help your trading. I've been trading for a very long time, right? About 20 years, right? 2 decades. It's insane how time flies. I started when I was really young, so I'm kind of glad for that. Anyway, I have condensed, right, a good portion of what I've learned over the 20 years in a trading course that I'm offering for free. It's not a, it's not like a 6-month trading course. It's not a gazillion hours. It's just over the course of 14 days, the course of 2 weeks. So if that is something that you're interested in, again, it's free of charge. You don't have to pull out your credit card. Definitely head on over to my website, ShortMeTina.com. Sign up, become a member. Thank you for listening, and as always, thank you for the support, TGIF. Remember, the market is closed on Monday. I will talk to you on Tuesday.